Tara Reade's sexual assault allegation against her former boss, Joe Biden, has not been proven. Likely it never will be. It happened an awfully long time ago, she says. But newly discovered evidence from almost 30 years ago offers surprising support for Reade's claim. This came almost out of nowhere. A clip from Larry King Live, the old 9 p.m. show on CNN, features a call from a woman Reade tells reporters is her mother. Watch this.
San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Huh. That's fascinating. Rich McHugh is a longtime reporter who's been on this story and a lot of big stories. He joins us tonight. Rich, thanks so much for coming on tonight. So will you just lay out the facts of as we know them and the allegations, if you would?
Sure. So Tara Reade worked for Joe Biden in 1992 and 93 for about 8 months. She says that at the time she faced some sexual harassment from him, unwanted touching, and she had complained about it, and it fell on deaf ears. And so she said she went and filed a complaint, outside of his office in some senatorial office that would handle these things. Around that same time, she says she was asked to deliver him a gym bag in one of the Senate buildings. And she brought it to him, and she says it was a warm spring day, a hot spring day. And she said that that he attacked her in a corridor. It wasn't a private office or anything, but attacked her and sexually assaulted her. And she came forward with an allegation last April. She told a local paper. She'd been telling people about this. She told people at the time. She told her mother, she told a friend, she told her brother, and she may have told some others. And so now she came out last year and told part of her story to a local paper in California. And a few weeks ago, I believe it was, she came out with her full allegation, article by Ryan Grimm and a podcast by Katie Halper. And since then, everybody's been examining the veracity of her claims.
Let me just clarify something. All of this is kind of a mishmash when you talk about sexual assault, sexual harassment. You're not. Mm-hmm. She's not suggesting that he said something vulgar to her. She's saying that he grabbed her genitals. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so that puts it in a different category from a lot of the stories like this that we hear. Really quickly, tell us about this call to Larry King. Where did that clip come from?
So she had told me about this. I said, in the process of reporting this, she came and said, I was you're always trying to figure out how to, if you're investigating how to kill a story. And if you can kill it, then you don't do it. And I was always trying to track down this clip. And without working at CNN, I couldn't go in there. Today, a enterprising PhD student, a woman, sent a note to myself and to Ryan Grimm saying, "Hey, I think I found it." And I think Ryan he probably responded to her quicker than I did. And so we got to this moment this afternoon where we both realized that there was this video was found. And he published it. We actually talked, but he published the story, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a decade before YouTube, so it's not so easy to find cable news clips from 1993.
Right.
Rich McHugh, thank you for that update. I appreciate it. Good to see you tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Mollie Hemingway is a senior editor at The Federalist. She's author of the book Justice on Trial about the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation battle. She's been following this story, Tara Reade and Joe Biden, since the beginning. She joins us tonight to assess. What do you make of this clip? What do you make of this story?
Well, what I find so interesting about this is when we went through something somewhat similar a couple of years ago with allegations made against Brett Kavanaugh, who was going through his confirmation hearing. There was no evidence in support of the allegations, and yet it became a media firestorm. The primary allegation from Christine Blasey Ford, she named 4 witnesses. None of them backed her up. Some of them strongly disputed it. She had not told anybody at the time. By her own admission, she waited many, many decades to begin telling a story that over time became the allegation that was put forth. She had no recall of memory. She had no evidence that she had ever met Brett Kavanaugh. And you compare that with a story like we have here. Nobody is disputing that Tara Reade worked for Joe Biden, and we already had evidence that she claimed she had told 3 people, 2 of whom were still living, and said that she did tell them at the time of the allegation. And you couldn't really have better evidence that the 3rd person, which is her mother, was also told of the allegation than her going and calling Larry King to complain about this situation. So, again, Joe Biden deserves every presumption of innocence that any other man should have. Yes. But when you look at it from a media angle, there is no excuse for the media doing what they did to Brett Kavanaugh and then working so hard to bury this story, with the exception of a few reporters like the one you just talked to, Ryan Grimm, and a few others.
That's right. And who is on the left? I mean, Ryan Grimm is not a conservative, to put it mildly, but an honest person, I think. There have been a few on the kind of Bernie Sanders side of the party who are trying to keep this story in the news. I would say principled people on the left. Do you think this will get answers from the former vice president?
Well, he should have been asked about this quite a few times already, as should have his supporters. Again, if our media were wanting to be handling this in any way remotely consistent. They did so much with Brett Kavanaugh to attack anyone who supported him, to attack him, to destroy his life. I don't think Joe Biden has been asked anything personally. He issued a statement through a spokesperson. That is nothing near what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. And if they have suddenly decided that presumption of innocence is important and that these allegations are too old, or that they don't think Tara Reade can prove them in any case, they need to say something about why they had such a different posture toward Brett Kavanaugh. As such, we've had New York Times and Washington Post people come out and admit that they have completely opposite takes on this than they did with the previous situation, but not in any convincing way. And this is, it's really something they think people are going to forget what they did to Kavanaugh. And so long as they don't behave even remotely near the same way with Biden that they did with Kavanaugh, people will not be forgetting this.